Oscar De La Hoya finally admits that Canelo Alvarez should fight the PBC fights, Jermall Charlo and David Benavidez. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Listen, I give you guys the latest and greatest in boxing news. Without further ado,
Canelo, you've been involved in his career for so long, and he's now in the middle of a pretty tough decision as to how he's going to proceed with a doubleheader of Dimitri Bivol followed by Triple G, you know, a trilogy match that you were involved in those first two fights, or going to Charlo. What's that?
I said way long overdue.
Yes, or a doubleheader of Charlo and Benavidez. What would you advise Canelo to do if you were, you know, still working arm in arm with him?
If I was in Canelo's ear, I would, you know me, Lance, I would go for the toughest guys. I would go for Benavidez and Charlo.
Boop. I would go for the toughest guys, Benavidez and Charlo. And we know Oscar De La Hoya in his career, he did fight the best. So he has the full carte blanche to make statements like that because we know he truly fought the best of the best in his era and even previous eras when he was coming up, like Julio Cesar Chavez, etc.
What would you advise Canelo to do if you were, you know, still working arm in arm with him?
If I was in Canelo's ear, I would, you know me, Lance, I would go for the toughest guys. I would go for Benavidez and Charlo, obviously. You know, the monies that are being offered are almost the same, but, you know, I strongly feel that Canelo wants to be great. He wants to break records.
Yeah.
So in order for him to do that, hopefully he'll pick Benavidez and Charlo. For him to do that,
he said in order to be great and legacy defining, hopefully he picks David Benavidez and Charlo.
These that are being offered are almost the same, but, you know, I strongly feel that Canelo wants to be great. He wants to break records.
Yeah.
So in order for him to do that, hopefully he'll pick Benavidez and Charlo and make a lot of money at the same time. So he's literally, you know, hitting two birds with one stone here. He can make a lot of money and fight the very best and continue with his legacy.
But
he can make a lot of money. Canelo can make a lot of money and fight the very best. The great Ego Stradamus strikes again. I tried to tell y'all didn't want to listen. Now, this is the previous report from ESPN. It says sources, PBC Premier Boxing Champions offered Canelo Alvarez payday. You want payday? I know that. A 2-fight deal worth upwards of $100 million guaranteed for bouts with Jermall Charlo and David Benavidez May and September respectively, but the package was rejected by Canelo about 10 days ago, and there has been no dialogue with PBC since. So that's what his sources said. However, Canelo Alvarez got on wax and got on the record and says that's not true. He says negotiations are still ongoing and nothing has been confirmed or finalized. So I told you my opinion from the beginning. Canelo versus Charlo and Benavidez, these are fights that fans want. They are the bigger events and the bigger fights. Old media and the Canelo Man fans, they can lie to you and you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. A Bivol fight is not a big fight. In fact, Dimitri Bivol, his last couple of fights, who really even got a chance to watch them? You know, he was fighting on co-features and things like that. So we already know without question, Canelo, he's a star, but him fighting Bivol, what does that really do? And you just became undisputed, beating Caleb Plant, fighting Jermall Charlo. We know Canelo's not moving back down to 160 because he's the A side, so he would make Charlo move up. So you would be able to defend all of your belts. Instead, if you fight Bivol, who's at a whole nother weight class, these are the games that you're playing. So you would be holding all the 168-pound hardware hostage while you play around and have these one-off fights at cruiserweight with Makbuk Air, or a one-off fight with a guy like Dimitri Bivol. And to me, that doesn't make sense, because what's the point of bouncing around so frequently and not staying up there? Like, clearly Canelo, if he knocked out Sergey Kovalev and that's supposed to be a valiant win, then why doesn't he just stay up at 175? Fight Artur Beterbiev, right? Fight Bivol and then fight him in a row. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't want to. So he's like picking, waiting for guys, you know, it's just like, it's played out, you know, waiting for guys off long layoffs and these little strategic advantages and things like that. We'll see what Canelo decides. But you as boxing fans, one, you need to admit that I was right. Ego Stradamus strikes again. Two, you have to really answer this question. How come Oscar De La Hoya, who is a fighter and had a great career, a Hall of Fame career, and he's tethered and he's affiliated with DAZN, why is he on record? Link in the description so you guys can watch that full interview. Why is Oscar De La Hoya telling Canelo basically not to take the DAZN deal and that he should take a Premier Boxing Champions deal? Keep in mind, Golden Boy and Golden Boy affiliates previously had some very sinister things to say about Al Heyman. They called him the Black Hitler. Someone called him the N-word. And there was a lawsuit that transpired between Golden Boy saying that Al Heyman was cursing boxing and blocking venues and stuff. And for more of that content, you guys can check my old videos because that's several years old at this point. But look it up, it's true. And these are the things that were going on. So why would, it's not like Golden Boy has a great relationship with Al Heyman, because Golden Boy feels that Al Heyman stole fighters that they were once working together for. Like when they were doing Mayweather fights, they had ADMITS, Amir Khan, Adrian Broner, Errol Spence, Deontay Wilder, and then they took all those fighters when they started Premier Boxing Champions. So you have to ask yourself some real life questions in an unbiased fashion. Why would Canelo's former promoter say, if Canelo wants the gold, you know, he wants legacy, he wants to solidify himself, he should take, one, the tougher fight and the best of the best, fight the best of the best in the PBC offer, which is Charlo and also David Benavidez, which is exactly what I said. Let old media tell it. They're saying that the best fight is like, oh, Charlo sucks and, you know, a Bivol fight is much tougher, so blah, 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 because they're trying to create this avenue for Canelo to take these fights that aren't big fights for and get no criticism for it, right? So why is De La Hoya, again, who works with DAZN, why is he saying that Canelo should take the non-DAZN deal and go for legacy and go for the bigger, better, tougher fights in Charlo and Benavidez? You can't make these things make sense. But when I said that, y'all had all types of stuff to say about me and, you know, name call in the comment section. It's not looking good. The walls, like I told you, are closing in on Canelo Alvarez to make the right choice. Now, I've also been on record stating this, that I don't have any faith in Canelo to make the proper choice that is the greater choice for the greater good of boxing. I'm all about boxing, not independent fighters, but the whole scope, the whole spherical boxing universe, that's me. So the reason why I say things so candidly and I give you my opinions, and maybe it's brash or it's harsh, is because I want what's best for boxing. Canelo fighting in bigger fights, since he has star power, right? That's only better for my sport of boxing. Canelo fighting obscure guys like Rocky Fielding and, you know, Liam and Liam William, Liam Smith, Liam this and Billiam, and doing fights that boxing audiences aren't asking for and don't want to see. It doesn't build the sport, because who believes that personalities like LeBron James is going to come out to watch Canelo versus Dimitri Bivol or fights like that? You see what I'm saying? Or when he was fighting Rocky Fielding, they're usually not star-studded events, and they're usually not for the greater good of boxing. Now, it might benefit Canelo's bank account because you're getting overpaid for fights that you know you can win, but this is precisely what a lot of the Canelo fans said that they hated. A lot of the Canelo man fans, they say they hated Floyd Mayweather because he was a cherry picker, which we know is false, but this is what they were saying. So why would you allow, if that's your real statement, why would you allow Canelo to literally fight several European fighters, Eastern European, 40-year-old fighters, and fight under these various circumstances and not provide him with any criticism for taking those said fights? Doesn't make any sense. And Canelo and his fans, they can continue playing the games, but we know what the biggest fights are. The other thing is this: there's no way you can assure me or convince me otherwise. So the deal is saying, the PBC deal is $100 million guaranteed. These are bigger fights, so Canelo will generate more money by taking the bigger and better fight that people want to see, because I am not paying for Canelo on this Eastern European tour. Mark that down. I'm not using my money out of my bank account to fund Canelo's golfing career if he doesn't want to fight fights that I'm really interested in. You see what I'm saying? So there's that. He'll make more. I have no problem paying for Canelo Charlo because I want to see it. Canelo versus David Benavidez because I really want to see it too. You know what I mean? So we'll see what Canelo decides. I know he wants to be the man and he wants the final say and stuff. We'll see what he decides, but there's definitely pressure on him to take what even Oscar De La Hoya is calling the tougher challenge. Just like I said, I'm the best in boxing history. That's what you got to deal with. So we'll see what is decided. The pressure is on Canelo. You just became undisputed. Why leave the division while you have all the belts? And again, this doesn't benefit boxing. You go to 175 to fight a champion that is obscure and not relevant in American audiences, where you're probably going to fight unless you're going to go to Russia and fight him, right? Or the UK or somewhere else. So it's going to be a fight that's not a high profile fight. The B-side name is not as charismatic or dynamic or known in American audiences like Jermall Charlo, like David Benavidez, right? So if you pick one of those, what does that really do for boxing? Furthermore, as I said in this video, you're fighting in a division 175 where you no longer have any belts because you fought Kovalev and relinquished the belt because you didn't want to stay up there. So it just scrambles up the division. Now the whole 168-pound division is on hold because you're undisputed and we got to wait for you to fight Dimitri Bivol and then tie up all these belts and nothing else can really move. Because if that's the case, then if let's say he wants to fight Bivol, then the sanctioning bodies should strip Canelo at 168, Chris Brown style. I just want to see you strip right now, cause I just want to see you strip. They need to strip him so boxing is not held up by the diva Alvarez. How do you tie up belts? You're undisputed. You have every single belt. But you want to fight in cruiserweight and 175 and fight in these different divisions. Now David Benavidez, he has an eliminator with David Lemieux, you know, and other guys like Anthony Durrell or whoever. None of these guys have access to a belt. Caleb Plant can't try for another belt because you have them and you're not even in the weight class. So that it just, I can't fathom how that would be the better thing for boxing, to hold belts hostage and stagnate a division while you move around. And the upsetting thing is Canelo already has money. Canelo already has star power. This is what these other guys, some of them need. They need, you know, bigger purses and paychecks, and they're trying to prove themselves. Canelo doesn't need belts at this stage of his career to prove his worth and to make money. But other people need that and rely on that. So it's not right to hold up the whole division and hold the belts hostage while you move around like this. We'll see what Canelo decides, but now even Oscar De La Hoya is telling you what I've been telling you. Damn, I'm good. Subscribe to the channel. I'm the best in the business. That's it. And I'm out. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster.